Welcome back to the King's Corner, the place for all things Bethesda. I am the KingFanMan, and this is the KingCast, the live podcast where we cover Bethesda news and all that is current with Bethesda and gaming. And today I have a very, very special guest and a very good friend of mine, Kane Valdir Gaming. Kane, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Kane has a great YouTube channel, and he does wonderful news videos and also lore videos. And he kind of leans a little bit heavier into the lore videos. But I'm going to let him introduce himself to you. That's my little introduction of you, Kane. But tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so I do a lot of lore videos, mostly pertaining to Fallout. I'll be branching out into a few other things this year. I'm gonna spread my legs a little bit. Um, I also do a lot of gaming news videos. I try to keep accurate to the sources of the material instead of actually like speculating. But I'm pretty well rounded here.
Awesome. I love your lore stuff. Absolutely. Hey, Timmer. Hey, Matt. Thank y'all for joining. Happy to have y'all. We've got some great stuff to talk about today. And Kane, I'm so glad you're here because we're going to have a great discussion. We're going to talk about some news. We're going to talk a little bit about Fallout 76, a pretty neat Starfield rumor. But the main thing, and I'm not going to hide it, we're going to talk about it right off the bat since I did put it up as the title. A huge article came out because it was in an interview. A former Bethesda employee, Nate Perkapile, came out and said in an interview that it would be better for Bethesda to switch engines, to switch over to the Unreal 5 engine. It would be better for the company if they would go ahead and switch over to the Unreal 5 engine. Now, that's a pretty huge thing for a former Bethesda employee to say. And he's not just a former Bethesda employee, he is a longtime former Bethesda employee. He was the lead artist, and he worked. Let's see, he goes all the way back to Fallout 3, I think. Am I right, Kane, on that? I know he worked on
Uh,
Skyrim.
yeah, I think he goes back to Oblivion.
Okay, yeah,
I
even
think he did a little bit of work on Oblivion.
and so he was. I mean, he's been there a long, long, long time. So him saying that, I want to start this by saying this quote. I love this quote he gave. He said, doing Starfield, it was during Starfield that he left Bethesda. He said, now remember, a lot of Starfield's development, Starfield took so long because they took a lot of the time for Starfield's development was actually updating the engine. It wasn't actually game development, it was updating the creation engine to Creation 2. But he said, even during the development of Starfield, he said it was like you're on a train, but you're actually laying train tracks at the same time you're on the train, and the train's on fire. I,
Yep.
I love that quote from Nate Perkapile. So let's get into the discussion today about should Bethesda change to the Unreal 5 engine, and that we'll just start right there. Again, at least one former Bethesda employee thinks they should. Kane, I'll give it to you first.
So I'm going to take this back just a little bit. The creation engine. Okay. Bethesda's kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. The creation engine is their baby. That's the one thing that they know, they do all the time, they use all the time. The problem that they have right now is the creation engine, they've added so much stuff to it that they haven't taken any time to actually go back and fix any of the problems with it. And Bethesda, like any other company, won't do that. And there's a reason for that: profit. There's no profitability behind actually doing it. There's a lot to be spent in
I
fixing
was
it.
about to
They
say
could, they
it takes
could.
time and money. That's yeah.
Yeah, they could fix it. but it would take a lot of time and a lot of money.
Yes.
But so they're not going to do that. So should they switch over to Unreal 5 where there's already a team that just does that? They only work on fixing bugs. They only work on improving the actual engine itself. That's all they do. That's all Epic does with that particular team. So I think the answer in this case is yes. The creation engine has shown its age with Starfield.
And
So I
let's be
think
clear. How old is? I mean, we're calling it the Creation 2 engine, but this goes back to the Gamebryo engine, does it not?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is
And
built
that goes
on
back to
Gamebryo.
Morrowind, does it not?
Actually goes back further.
Wow.
It actually goes back to Daggerfall.
Wow. Some people were not even alive at Daggerfall.
Exactly. So yeah, the original iteration of it was used for Daggerfall and I think a couple other games, but Daggerfall was the primary where it really became big, and then they started using it in everything.
Wow. And they have just layered everything on top.
Yes,
Right.
over the years without fixing any of the problems that it had to begin with. They just kept moving forward with actually just adding things to it, just like any other big company does with any of their software.
Let
That's the issue that Bethesda has right now.
let me give a few of the problems about switching over, and let's see if we can, and obviously these are some of the things that are holding Bethesda back from switching over. I see three main problems, and the third one is probably the biggest. Number one, probably the biggest difference between the Creation engine and the Unreal engine, and somebody that knows more about engines can explain this to me, but I've had it explained on a tiny brain level anyway. The amount of static objects in a Bethesda game, in other words, the objects that you can actually reach down and pick up, are so much more in a Bethesda game than any other game. And
Yes,
from what I understand, you can't really pull that off with the Unreal Engine.
not to the extent that the creation engine does. No,
Correct.
and that's also the creation engine's downfall as well, because it can do all that object permanence and be able to actually keep things, and you're still able to actually go pick things up and move things and all that. It's it's a big detriment to them because that also limits the size of the area that you can load into, which is why
Right.
all Bethesda games has loading
That's
zones.
why you have to have your loading screens. That also creates a lot of bugs too when you have that many different
Yes,
objects within. Yeah.
the more objects, the more bugs come with it.
But it's what makes a Bethesda game so unique as well. So I mean, you got to weigh it. You know, do you want to change that core thing about a Bethesda game? We can get into that in a minute, but that's one thing. If you go to the Unreal 5 engine, you're not going to have all of the individual objects that you can touch, pick up, and feel that you can in a Bethesda game. That maybe
You'll
you,
be limited,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
it won't be as many. You can still have a lot of objects that you can pick up and touch and all that. It just won't be as many
as
as you
many.
currently have.
Number two, and this you may know a lot more about than me. The modding community. I looked into this a little bit for this show, but how hard is the Unreal 5 engine to mod? Well, first of all, the modding community that the Bethesda modding community, they are not familiar with it at all, so they'd have to learn it. They are so familiar; they've been modding Bethesda games, for years. But from what I understand, it's a little bit harder to mod than Bethesda games.
It is because Unreal's available to everybody.
Yeah.
I actually have it on my computer. it's available to everybody to download, and you can mod pretty much anything you want to, or you can create your own game if you want to.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not as difficult as it sounds like it is. It's just different.
It's
So
just
there
different.
would be
Yeah.
a learning
You,
curve.
you
Yeah, there'd
have
be
to
a
learning
learning
curve.
curve.
And then the biggest obstacle that I think is holding Bethesda back, and we've already kind of mentioned it right at the first, for them to switch over to the Unreal 5 engine. Now remember, they took a lot of that time that they were doing Starfield, they were upgrading their engine, okay? From what I understand, they would have to do the same thing if they went over to even the Unreal Engine. In fact, I've got quotes from Bruce Naismith. He's also a former Bethesda employee. He says if Bethesda switched, it would take numerous years to properly implement the new engine, and it would take a lot of money. He also
Yeah.
says the move would fix a lot of the tech issues, but
Oh, 100% it would. Yeah.
we would have to go through the exact same thing we just went through with Starfield. We would have another, 6, 7, 8 year development cycle for the next game. Are fans
Right.
willing to do that again?
So it would. So this is the trick, though. It would be that way for one game, and then after that, the
Correct.
development process becomes so much quicker.
So much quicker. Yep. And that goes back to another quote from Nate Perkapile. He said, "It's easier to stay relevant than to always try to play catch up." And that's what
Yes.
Bethesda's doing. They're trying to play catch up. So
Yep.
let me catch up. Speaking of playing catch up, let me catch up with a few of these comments. Hey, everybody. Thank y'all for being here and thank y'all for saying hello. JD says switching to the Unreal Engine is essentially capitulating to the
Actually,
realities of gaming. I'm sorry, I've got my camera right in the way. Now that is more investor driven and corporate. It's kind of sad. Yes. Daggerfall, what Timmer says. Hey, Timmer, how's it going? Matt says, thank you, King. Changing engines would fundamentally change. I'm going to have to move where my camera is. I cannot read these. Fundamentally change the nature of the game. It absolutely would. And Timmer says, I think as long as Todd is in charge, they're not going to change.
I don't think Todd has as much power as he used to have,
No.
especially after the the results of
Starfield.
Starfield.
Yeah. Well, and
I think
let's be honest, we're down to 1 or 2 games at the most for him anyway. And
yeah,
Microsoft
I
knows
mean,
that.
well, he might have more in him, but I mean, I don't think he's going to be as he's not going to be, quote unquote God Howard anymore.
No.
He's 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 just another figurehead at the top of the chain.
Yes.
There's other people above him that are going to make decisions. Hence the reason why the remasters or remakes are coming in 2025 or
Absolutely. Great
2026.
point. And he said that was not
So
going to happen. And here they are.
yeah, yeah, they're coming.
Here's a question before we just totally make our decision. Is there any way, and I know what they did with Starfield, and we've been told that they're going to update the creation engine even more for the Elder Scrolls 6. Is there any way possible to fix the creation engine?
Oh,
Or
absolutely. But like I said, that's also going to take as much time and as much money as it would to just switch over to a new engine altogether.
right.
So whether they're willing to stop production and stop trying to add new features and actually go back and fix the problems with the engine, I don't think that's going to happen.
Does the actual age and the amount of stuff that they're building on though, and Bruce Naismith kind of got into this a little bit. he said the fact that they're building on so much, like from Morrowind and Daggerfall, as y'all have been saying, it almost gets to the point that they're having a hard time. And again, I don't even know the language to use here, but some of the stuff from so long ago, like you said, that needed to be fixed wasn't fixed, but it's been so
Right.
long covered up. How do you even fix it?
Well, that's the problem. I don't even think the people who are working on it now
No, they're
understand
gone. Yeah,
code to begin with, because all the people who built the Gamebryo engine are no longer with
they're
Bethesda.
gone. Yeah,
They're gone. So Gamebryo itself already had problems, and nobody understands the code for that piece of it, to let alone try to fix any issues there that are causing problems for the creation engine side of things.
now, right.
Yeah.
That's why I
So
say it's almost not possible to create it unless you deep dive into it.
yeah, it's a catch-22.
Yeah. So it would probably literally be quicker to switch to the Unreal Engine and do that transition than to literally try to go back and fix the creation engine the way you want. Now, the only thing that I would ask fans is, and I would like a little survey here on the KingCast is, again, are we willing for Bethesda games to change? And they would change a little bit. You'd have to admit they would change a little bit. Going
Oh yeah, yeah,
going
they would
from
change.
creation to Unreal, there would be a change in the feel. We always talk about the feel of a Bethesda game. Well, some things would feel better, some things would look better, obviously, but
Oh, it would look beautiful.
it would look beautiful. And I can't imagine an Elder Scrolls in an Unreal engine. Of course, we're probably going to get to see that in the Oblivion remaster. But are we willing to lose that feel with the gameplay? And I don't know. I honestly don't know, Kane. Is
No,
it?
I don't think it would affect the feel of the gameplay, to be honest. I mean, if anything, it would actually make the gameplay a little more smooth and feel more up to date with like modern AAA RPGs.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot more to gain than there is to lose out of switching engines at this point.
I know that's what most say. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear what you guys think. It seems that a lot. I wonder if one of the reasons, and I hesitate even saying because I know one of the reasons, but I'll go ahead and ask my question, even knowing the answer. I wonder if one of the reasons that a lot of the Bethesda people are leaving is because of the engine that they're having to work on. You
Well,
know,
I'm certain that has a part of it for sure.
because Nate left, and he is making a game on his own on the Unreal Engine now, which is kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
Access the Unseen.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it looks fantastic, by the way.
it does.
I've seen quite a bit from it.
Matt says the primary issue is the availability of programmers who can program the creation engine. I'd absolutely give up the ultra, my camera,
Granularity.
yeah, granularity of Bethesda games for more modern looking,
Yeah,
smoother games. Yeah. JD says the engine is not the true problem. It's the fact that Bethesda, we know, has changed. Yes, I hate to admit that, but it's so true. Key players and vets, I got to move my camera, have left. Bethesda's something else now. It's like the ship of Thesis argument. Yeah.
yep. Ship of Theseus, of course, it always comes around.
You know, it's sad but true. I was watching just last night an interview, and I've sit here and forgotten the guy's name, and I don't know why I bring it up because I forgot the guy's name. Kane, you would know it if I could spit it out, but he also worked. He was one of the lead designers on Starfield, and he left as well. But I've just mentioned Nate Perkapile, Bruce Naismith, and now
Oh,
this other
you're
guy.
talking about
He has long
uh,
hair.
yeah, drawing a blank on his name too. He
Great
did the he
quest
was the one that
designer.
yeah he did Far Harbor.
Yes, yes,
Um,
that's him. That's him.
yeah,
Will Shin, thank you,
Will
Timmer.
Shen, yes, thank you.
Just listening to an interview with him, the whole guts of Bethesda are gone. I mean, what we really loved about Bethesda's gone. We're left with Emil Pagliaro. That's who we're left with. And Todd, bless his heart, Todd's not there. I've said this several times. Todd is not there working on games anymore. I mean,
No,
he's
he's not.
he's overseeing Indiana Jones that's being done out of the country. He's overseeing the TV show and all kinds of stuff. There's no way he can be working on games. So
Yeah, no, he's the guy that comes in, takes a look at a few things, and says yes or no, and then he's off and onto another thing.
absolutely,
So,
he is the
but
overseer.
unfortunately, right now the people who are in charge, like Emil, I'm not a fan of Emil,
I don't think anybody.
but he's the guy that's right now. He pretty much is the guy right now that's running the show
Yep,
from a narrative standpoint.
yep, and running some people away, from what I understand.
Oh, yes. So I know that's why Will left.
Yes. Yep. Okay, taking a break just for a minute. The pinned comment in the chat is a link to Mr. Kane's YouTube channel. So please go and subscribe to Kane Valdir. Am I saying it correctly? Kane Valdir Gaming.
Out here.
Hey, I
Yep.
did it right. So glad to have Kane on with us today. We are talking about whether Bethesda should change to the Unreal 5 engine. We're about to start talking about Starfield in 2025 and some Fallout 76 updates in the last half hour of the show. But so glad that y'all joined us today. But again, please go subscribe to Kane. It's so good to have him on. And through the remainder of the show, would love to hear what you think about this. Just let me know in the chat whether you would like to see us, and I say us, excuse me, Bethesda change to the Unreal 5 or stay with Creation 2. I guess I'm nostalgic. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of with Todd. I can't pull the trigger and say yes, change, because we've had it since, again, Daggerfall. And I hate change, Kane. I just hate change. But I know,
Yeah, I mean that's common though.
I know. I mean, you're just going to have to do it. There's two things that really hit me in the face when I was doing research for this. Number one, Xbox Studios has announced in October. They announced that they're changing from their in-house engine for all the future Halo games, and they're going to Unreal 5.
Yeah.
But that's not the big one. CD Projekt Red is changing. They have done The Witcher 3, they did Cyberpunk, they did all of those with an in-house engine. They did it with, what was it called? Red Engine 3, I think was
It
what it
was
was
Red
called.
Engine. Yep.
They are going to the Unreal Engine. Now that one really hit me hard. If
Yeah, I mean Unreal is really proven to be a powerhouse when it comes.
Okay, we had a, pardon me, we had a break in the line there for a minute, but I hope everybody's back. JD makes a good point. Can you hear me, Kane? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. JD says switching to Real Engine 5 won't solve Bethesda's problems, which is very true. And that's not what we're saying in this chat. There's a lot going on with Bethesda right now, and we know that.
Yeah, Yeah, Bethesda's got a lot of work to do internally, but changing engines will at least help the game performance be better.
I mean, that's a huge thing. You know, making the games better. That's one step. Making the game performance better. Obviously, the writing's got to get better. There's a lot of things that need to get better. But the engine would be one thing. But yeah, with CD Projekt Red actually moving from the in-house going to Unreal,
Engine.
that was big for me. Timmer says I can ask or try asking about why Bethesda Game Studio employees are leaving. That'd be great. Yeah, I have some kind of
Well, some of them have
sources.
already spoken out as to why.
Yeah,
Like Nate Perkypiles said numerous times why he left. One of the reasons being the size of the teams now.
yeah. The
There's
feel
no there's
well
no
the
good
the
communication.
feel of it changed. It went from that
Yeah.
private little down home company to just a huge corporate. Yeah, just it totally
Yeah,
changed.
and Will Shen he stated numerous times as well why he left as and a big reason was because the creativity within the teams was being splintered and fragmented so much that you really nobody knew what anybody else was doing.
Yep, yep.
So it just didn't make it just there's a lot of things that don't make sense with Bethesda right now, and that's the only thing that's got me cautioned as far as future games coming from them.
And y'all think about that. Think about what Bethesda made with 100 people compared to what they made with 500 people. you
Night and
know,
day.
yeah, yeah, night and day. Baxter says, don't really care what engine they use. Both engines can make great games, which is true. Which is true. If you have the right writing, I still think the Creation 2 has a great game in it. I think the Elder Scrolls 6 can be a great game. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on? Love that crown beside your name. That looks really pretty. If Bethesda changes engines, they will get more and better programmers to fill their ranks back up. That's a great point to think about. There are definitely more people out there that are familiar with and can work on the Unreal Engine 5. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Joe says Unreal Engine 5 is garbage for games that Bethesda makes. Updating the creation engine is always the right choice. Joe, I think you're talking about the things that I'm talking about. Bruce Naismith also said this, and I should have used this quote as well, and this was kind of what I was talking about. He says, and again, he was the lead, one of the lead designers. He said the creation engine is perfectly tuned to make Bethesda games. In other words, that's the creation engine is only for Bethesda games. It's exactly what we're talking about for all those little objects and stuff. That's what they've made it for. That's the only thing it's really good for. It's not good for good visuals. It's not good for anything else. But if you want a lot of things that you can pick up and interact with, that's what it's made for. And I think that's what Joe's talking about. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's all about nostalgia in that instance.
It is. But again, if you go that route, you're always going to be behind with the visuals and all that other. So you got to give or take one way or the other. Hey, Mr. Lewis, what's going on? He says no way Bethesda would use an engine from this this decade, but I would 100% welcome it with open arms. Oh me, that's hilarious. Let me catch up and then we'll get on to something else if that's all right. Kane, if you got anything else to say on this subject, go right ahead right now while I'm catching up with the reading here. Anything else on the
Yeah,
engine?
I mean, that's. I think we've pretty much beat this horse to death right now. But I mean, honestly, everything that needs to be said has already been said. It's just my thing with it is it will eliminate the 8 to 10 year cycle that they're in right now in game development, and that is a bigger key piece than anything else.
Anything. And that's what Nate was saying, that they won't be playing catch up anymore. Matt says that Unreal would allow for more instancing of high quality assets and high quality light sources. The availability of pre made terrain assets for Unreal is enormous, and it works with Substance for rapid textures. Talarian says, I understand the appeal of an external engine, but I would like to see more competent options other than Unreal.
There's not too many out there, though, unfortunately.
No, Buddha Boy says the engine isn't the problem; it's their creativity and writing. I
Their
think
story.
I think we touched on that, and you know that's a whole other podcast, but I think it's the philosophy behind the writing, and it's the lead writer is the one who's saying keep it simple.
Exactly. And the fact that they don't even realistically use any sort of, documentation so that everybody knows what everybody's doing.
Right. Yep.
That's a big issue.
JD says the Outer Worlds 2 is made in Unreal 5. I guess
Yeah, I
they're
think so.
I guess they're using Unreal 5. And Mr. Lewis says, I'm so bored with 76. I would go nuts if we had a new Fallout multiplayer dropping. Hey, I would just like a new Fallout of any kind. That would be great. And Timmer says, if LinkedIn is to be believed, more than 100 people from Bethesda Game Studios left the company. Yeah, absolutely. There is no doubt about it. And it's been recently that has happened. Very, very recently. So, and it's a shame. It's been right around the Microsoft, but there's been so much changes in the company, and a lot of it has been the growth, and then of course the Microsoft takeover. You go from being that privately owned company of 100 people to a corporately owned company that you have, 3 or 4 other outside studios, and you have 500 people. There's a lot of changes there. And some of those people had been there, like we said, the Jeff Gardners, the Nate Perkopiles, the Bruce Naismiths, these people that we're talking about, they've been there since the Fallout 3s and the Oblivions. They've been there, since everybody could see each other in one room, So things changed a lot. Okay, Kane, I've got a good one for you. Don't know how good of a rumor this is, but this is a big one. There is a rumor that there is a possible code-altering update coming for Starfield in 2025. Now, code-altering means this is going to be an update kind of like Cyberpunk got that totally changed the game, okay? That they're going back to the very basis of the game and overhauling the game. It's going to be 4 basic things that they're going to do. Number 1, they're going to overhaul the space gameplay and make it much more dynamic, less predictable. So when you're flying out in space, that you'll run into more encounters. Number 2, they're going to rework Starfield's economy to provide more financial opportunities and progression. That would be interesting to talk about.
I don't need I don't need any more money. I've got plenty.
Yeah, I don't now. Early on in the game, it's hard selling all your stuff. Therefore, a little bit of part of the game, I wind up with way too many weapons and not any place to sell them. So that's interesting. But
there is that.
It's kind of neat. More financial opportunities. I wonder what they're talking about with that. The third thing, and I think everybody will cheer on this one, they want to fundamentally change the way that the loading screens work in the game. Now, it does not say take the loading screens out, but it does say fundamentally change the way they work. Now, this is another one of those things that we were talking about with the Creation 2 engine. With the Creation 2 engine and with all of those different things that you can pick up in the world, you have to have loading screens.
Right, which is why every planet is a small fishbowl.
Yep, yep, or every building or whatever you're
Right.
talking about. Yep. And the last thing and this is interesting too because I remember Todd Howard talking about this one. They want to change the AI behavior both in enemy and friendlies to be a better overall immersive experience. Kane, I don't know if you remember, but Todd Howard actually came out and quoted, I believe it was right before the game came out, that they were messing around with the AI in Starfield, and that for a long time they had the AI really intelligent, and that they turned the AI and made it a lot simpler. Do you remember him talking about that?
Yes. Yeah, he talked about that actually a couple of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they may be going to turn the intelligence back up. I
Yeah, I
don't.
was gonna say maybe if they just turn the intelligence back on,
Yeah.
it'll be better. But
So, any thoughts about those four things?
man,
Could this help
Starfield's one of those.
Starfield?
I
Is
mean,
it
it could.
is
I
it
mean,
too much?
anything at this point can
Is it
help
too little,
Starfield.
too late? What do you think?
I'm. I don't. The problem I have with Starfield isn't so much the way the way it plays. That I'm fine with how it plays. The issues I have with it are more narrative and story driven, and there's not a lot of good story within the game. You find little bits and pieces that are good, but the main story, I hate it. I don't want to, I'll never do it again.
It was just very shallow, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
very shallow. I thought the main story had so much potential. You know
Oh,
what?
absolutely has 100%. There's so much potential that it could have. It had like the new game plus. If they had done it right, I'd be playing it still net right now. But the problem is that it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
It's the same world no matter which world you'd go into. It's the same world, and you're just the only thing that changes is the lodge. That's it.
yeah.
Everything else is all the same, and all the people, and like they could have done. They had a chance to do something really good right there with making it. No, they could have made the you know like alternate realities type of thing. Where but that would have taken a lot more time, and I get that, so I understand the reasons why they didn't do it. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It was just an opportunity that they had for future content,
Well,
even,
quite
and they just haven't done anything.
quite honestly, Kane, I thought that was going to be their first DLC. See Shattered
It should
Space.
have.
I thought it was going to be
That's
an alternate
reality.
universe, an
Yeah,
alternate reality.
yeah. That's what I
If they
thought it was going
don't
to be
do
too.
that very soon, then they're crazy. I mean, it's just begging for an alternate reality. Okay, let's see. Let me make sure and get these before we pass them. JD says, "Did you see the leaks for season 20 of Fallout 76 for the Ghoul update? Very good stuff is coming,
Yes,
although
I've
it
seen
looks
some.
like they aren't bringing the Ghoul gun from the TV show. Hope they add it." Yes, I did. You got anything on that, Kane?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm sure they're going to add some stuff from the TV show, but they're not going to bring like everything from the TV show. That's just not realistic
Yeah.
for a game that's only really set right now. What 26 years after the bombs fell? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But I mean, they're still going to the ghoul thing. I think that's actually going to be a pretty cool update.
Yes.
Be able to play as a ghoul.
I would have liked a better trading economy in Starfield. Everything to me compared to Skyrim or any of the Bethesda games it's kind of like Kane said, it was just a lot less. A lot. It seems to me that I truly believe they cut a lot of Starfield's content to cut down on bugs. I will believe that until the day I die. Because,
Yeah.
it had the least amount of bugs of any Bethesda game. I guarantee you they cut a lot of content to get rid of the bugs.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
believe that game had, I mean, it don't have near the content that a Skyrim does. Think about just the amount of quests or side quests in it. It just does not have what Skyrim has. And I just don't
No.
see Bethesda releasing a game that has that few of quests. When Todd talked about it, it was the be all end all space game.
Yeah, and it doesn't have half. It doesn't even have half of what Skyrim does.
No,
Even with the repeatable stuff, it doesn't have. It
it
doesn't have
doesn't.
half.
It doesn't. No. Timmer says Todd himself talked to the ZeniMax board shareholders about autonomy at Bethesda Game Studios. Hence, there has not been any change. Now with Microsoft, that's a different story. Yep. Unexpected outcome. How are you doing? Unity and the Starborn were a letdown. They could have. I'm sorry, I'm looking past my camera again. They could have used Unity as a method for time travel. See, I thought there
They
was going
could
to be
put them
time.
in.
I thought there was going to be time travel too. They could have done anything. Yes, they could have done so much. They could have done so much with the Starborn in the main story. They could have. Yeah, don't get me started on that. But what I'm wondering is, with what we have now, what we know we have now, and with this rumor coming out, do you think, like what CD Projekt Red did with Cyberpunk, is it possible? Do you think they can turn around Starfield, or have they waited too long?
I
You know
mean, I
that
think that they can. The problem is, I don't think that because the people that are in charge, I don't think it's going to happen.
I know. We definitely don't get that vibe from them. I sure don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if Shattered Space had been something like groundbreaking, I'd be more hyped about it. But
Yeah.
because Shattered Space came out and it was just like, oh, okay, this was a faction that should have been in the base game. Fantastic. And I honestly believe that was cut from the base game originally.
Yeah.
And they just decided at the last minute to use it as DLC.
Yep. Again, it goes back. There wasn't half in that Skyrim had. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
I mean, there's a lot of work to do with Starfield when it comes right down to it. I don't think it's got enough of a fan base for them to invest that
to
much
fix
into it.
it, I know
Yeah.
that's what's so sad, because there is so much potential in it. There is so much
Yeah.
potential in it. But I sit here and I looked over these four. In fact, I thought about doing a whole podcast on these four. But number one, there's really not enough interest in Starfield to do a whole podcast on it. Number one, which is sad. And then number two, looking at these four, even if they did these four things that I just said, and they did them exceptionally, I mean, if they did an exceptional job on these four that I just read out, I don't think these would save the game, because there's still so many other problems with the game.
Yeah.
I think one of the main problems that the game has is when you land on a planet, you run into the same 2 or 3 buildings every time you go to a planet and start exploring. And exploring is what people want to do in a Bethesda game.
Yep.
And you run into the same, you know,
It's kind of, this brings us right back to the beginning of the podcast, because if they had done Starfield in Unreal Engine 5, a lot of the issues that people had, like myself included, with the game wouldn't have been there, because the exploration would have been there, because the AI within Unreal is actually smart enough to produce different things and actually make alterations to things that are already like pre-made, so to speak. So it would make it different and make it feel like it was different,
Make it
even
feel
if
like
it's
it's
still the
different.
same. Even if it is the same thing, it would still make it feel different.
That's what they need. That's what they need. Something to
Yep.
make it at least feel different, not feel like you're running into the same uninhabited radio tower or whatever it is. And the if I go to the another chem lab, I'm going to scream. It's the same place with the same raiders. It's like, hadn't I killed these raiders about 700 times already? JD says it's probably shipped to surface travel, but I wouldn't expect a Cyberpunk 2.0 level update. Look at the Fallout 4
Oh,
anniversary update.
jeez.
It's still broke. It's still broke, JD. It is still broke.
I think they gave up. I think they gave up
Yeah.
trying to fix it.
Yeah. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Oh. I want to be excited again for Bethesda. Hey, Nukem. Nukem says I can't wait for Oblivion. And see, and y'all know me as Mr. Positive. I'm over here worried about Oblivion. I'm
Well,
worried about
it's a
what
different studio.
I know it is, but I'm worried about what in the heck they're going to give us, because I know we don't know if it's they've called it a remake remaster hybrid. What is that?
Well,
I
it's
know I'm
basically,
supposed to
I
hype
think,
things a little bit, but come on. I want a
I
true
think,
remake.
I think a remake remaster hybrid is really just a porting of assets.
Well, then that's just a remaster, isn't it?
Well, no, because a remaster is just a fine tuning of the engine itself that it was already built in.
Oh, okay.
If they're porting it to a different engine, but still utilizing those same assets, that actually could, in theory, make it better.
Well, at least we're
So,
going to get to see Oblivion in the Unreal 5 engine. That's going to be great.
yes. Yeah,
I
I think that could actually be a testing ground. That might actually be what that is.
It could be. It could be. That's Hey, that's a great segue too from what we were talking about early as well. I hope they've done a little bit more though on the remake side of it than just ported it. I really hope they've gotten into.
Oh, I'm sure they have. Yeah.
I hope so.
I mean,
So
it's gonna have to be more up to date with with the modern games and
I mean,
things like
because an
that. So I think
Oblivion
that's
is
really where the
it's an
remake piece
old
comes in.
game just to port over.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If they just ported over Oblivion, they're going to get ripped in the mainstream media. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the reason why the remake. It's a remake remaster hybrid.
Hybrid, yeah.
You port the assets over, and then you fine tune everything and remake and reshape it and bring it more to life.
That's what I'm hoping they did. But I tell y'all what, I am just as excited, probably even more so, believe it or not, for Sky Oblivion. I can't wait to play Sky Oblivion, and I'm going to play both of them this year
Yeah, that one should be pretty good too.
because
I
they're
mean, that
both
one's
going to
just
be
using.
they're both going to be so different.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're going to be completely different because Sky Oblivion is Oblivion being completely rebuilt
It is totally redone.
in the
Yeah,
creation engine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a remake. It's been remade in the Skyrim engine. So
Yeah, they didn't port anything over.
Unreal would not fix the fundamental creative and balancing issues in Starfield. No, no. I mean, it wouldn't fix the writing issues that we've talked about. I think what Kane
No, it
was
wouldn't fix any of that.
no.
Yeah, it would fix the loading screens and all that. It would fix those issues that a lot of people had because you wouldn't have to sit behind a loading screen. You could actually just go from point A to point B without having a problem.
Nukem says nothing can fix Starfield. You know,
Well,
I hate to be dumping on Starfield. I still like Starfield. It's not that I think Starfield is terrible. Starfield just has some blaring problems that they should have obviously seen. I guess that's what I'm saying. That any studio should have seen. And one of them
it's not
is
a it's not a it's not that it's not a bad game overall.
no, it's not.
There's definitely some good stuff in the side content. I like a lot of the side quests.
Yes.
I like the shipbuilding and the ship handling, the way it handles in space. I like all
Yes.
that. I just there's a lot of other things that I don't like, and I don't need to rehash it.
Nope. Nope. No. In fact, you mentioned the side quests. Some of the side quests are some of the better side quests that Bethesda has had in a while. So
Yeah.
yeah. Nukem says I think they are thinking in the lines of Final Fantasy VII remake. I do know a little bit about that remake. I didn't play it, but yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yep. And whatever we get with this Oblivion remake, then we'll know what we're getting with the Fallout 3 because it should be coming probably next
Soon
year.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nukem says you need to add a lot and remove a lot to Starfield. Hey, Dale, I know you've probably been on here before, but I didn't see you. Starfield is fine. It just lacks content, and it definitely does that. I promise I'm gonna get my camera moved. I got my camera sitting on a stand that's sitting right in the way of the chat. So my new King's Corner, y'all see, I've got this back here, but it's not finished. I gotta do another row down here, and now I've got a double screen that I'm working on. So hey, I'm getting all this stuff fixed, but it takes time. Well, Kane,
Getting there.
I want to mention Fallout 76. We've got a very light January in Fallout 76. I mean, it's very light. Not much on news in Fallout 76. The 2nd through the 7th, script surplus and legendary vendor sale. The 9th through the 13th, you've got Gold Rush and double mutations. The 9th through the 16th, you've got mutated public events. Now, those actually have good rewards now, so those are worth playing, the 9th through the 16th. So remember those. Caps of Plenty you have after that. And then finally, the 30th through February the 3rd, you've got Double Score, the Treasure Hunters with new rewards, and double mutations again. So there's really only two things in January. You've got that mutated public events and the Double Score and Treasure Hunter.
Can I just say that it's sad that we've normalized the community calendar as the quote unquote what's coming, the roadmap,
Yeah.
if we will. It's they used to give us roadmaps, actual roadmaps.
Yes,
I wish
they
they would
did.
start doing that again. That would be nice.
It would
but
be nice. It would be nice. Absolutely.
That's okay. I mean the content that 76 puts out is actually not bad. I will have to say it's not as good as it could be, but it's not bad. It's getting better.
It's gotten better. It has gotten
Yeah.
better. Absolutely. Nukem says you're at 99. Can't wait until tomorrow. You're at 99 and can't wait until tomorrow. What's he talking about?
Maybe it's level 99. And he'll be 100 tomorrow.
Wow,
Maybe that's what he's meaning.
that's good. I don't. I'm in the bonus already, so I don't know what level that is.
Maybe. I see. Maybe he's talking about yeah, he's probably talking about the season.
The season, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the not the first bonus where you're still getting the rewards, but where they make the prices go way up. I'm in that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, seasons. Okay, I got you, Nukem. Yeah, I'm in the bonus part as well, where you have to spend 150 points to get dog leaves, leaves for your dog. And
Yeah, exactly.
Astro Gazer says Starfield needs a core storyline, not just a new game and repeat the same game again. New game needs a new storyline each time. It definitely
Yeah,
it
I
definitely
agree.
needs more. It does. Absolutely. Timmer says it won't feel like a Bethesda game. The reason why Bethesda doesn't change engines. See, I tend to agree with Timmer. So we have a difference of opinion on the KingsCast. I think Kane says we should go ahead and change. I'm going to go ahead and say I can't see it. I like the feel of Bethesda games. I know it's kind of behind times, but I love having all the little things to pick up. And there's a reason that I love Bethesda games. I mean, if I want to go play a Witcher game, I'll go play a Witcher game. But there's a reason I love Bethesda games. There's a reason I love the feel of Bethesda games. And I will take less quality visuals to play a Bethesda feeling game. And that's so I say stick with the creation engine.
It's
So
like
it's
Timmer just got a reply from a developer.
okay, great. Let us know. So it's okay that we disagree, and I think the chat's kind of been back and forth. Some have agreed and some have disagreed on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the overall community is going to have that split, kind of right down the middle, whether it's changing or not changing, and a lot of that is a
What's
comfort level, right?
and what's more important to you about the game,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't think it'll fundamentally change how the game plays, though. I think it was still. I think a Bethesda game will still play like a Bethesda game because they're going to dictate in within the code and all that stuff as to how things work, just like any other game does.
right,
So it's not going to be just because it's in Unreal. It's not going to be playing like it's Cyberpunk, or it's not going to be playing like it's The Witcher.
right.
It's just not going to do that. They all have their own individual styles, even though they're in the
Yes,
same engine.
yeah,
So I don't think it'll change that way. There's definitely going to be a change, nonetheless. But it's a matter of, you know,
how much?
it's all going to be a perception thing, right?
Yes,
That's really what it comes right down to.
yes. Timmer, if you can, let us know what kind of reply you got. If you can't, let me know in private. I would love to know. You guys, please, please, please subscribe to Kane and thank him for being a part of the show. I want to have Timmer on soon. By the way, Timmer does a great job on X. I call it Twix because it used to be Twitter, so it's Twix. Y'all need to follow him as well. But y'all, please subscribe to Kane. He does a great, great, great job on YouTube, keeping up with the news, but mainly I love his lore videos. But I love all his videos. He does a great job. Baxter says, how many hours of content, and I know I keep going away from the mic to read, do people expect from a game these days? Yeah, that is a great question. I would say it's according to what game, kind of game, Baxter. If it's an Indiana Jones type game, or if it's a Starfield type game. If you go into it with it being an open world RPG, then I'm expecting 100 plus hours. I'm expecting major content. If I go into like an Indiana Jones type game, I'm expecting 20 or less. Does that make sense, Kane? Maybe
Yeah,
that's, I mean, they're
yeah.
different type experiences.
It really does depend on the game itself, what it is, what it's about. Not every game needs to be 100 plus hours.
No.
Open world RPGs absolutely need to be 100 plus hours. I don't disagree with that at all. But like worlds that aren't open, like Bethesda games are, things like that. I don't like. I'll say even Cyberpunk shouldn't. I wouldn't have expected to be 100 plus hours. I would have expected it to be like 80 hours, 90 hours. That would have been my expectation for it. because it's not a true open world. It's got a limitation to the size of it. Um, so yeah, I mean, it really just depends on the game. I would say on average you're probably looking at 20 to 30 hours of content for any new game within any company.
Jeremy says you won't be able to put buckets on people's heads with the Unreal 5 engine. And
That's not a priority on most people's lists,
but
but I
it
appreciate
is
the
with Bethesda people. Come on, you know it is.
I
JD
do appreciate the sentiment.
JD says the glaring reason I have with Bethesda's Fallout 4's treatment. It was robbed of a second season pass, cut content like the Underwater Vault, the Synth Spouse, Dance Brotherhood ending, etc. Yes, and it's all still sitting there. A lot of that content is still
Yeah,
sitting there.
I was just gonna say all that content's still in the game. It's just not able to be accessed.
I know it. I know it. And it hurts.
I would love Fallout 4 to. That's what I expected out of the anniversary edition was all that cut content that's already in the game that's near finished to have been finished and added to the game. That's what I expected, and they didn't do anything.
See, in my opinion, now, there may not be a market for this, but I think those kind of things, I think people would actually pay for. And
Yeah,
I mean today, I think if Bethesda would go back and finish the Underwater Vault, if they would finish that cut content and put it in a whatever kind of edition you want.
yeah, you could call it a Fallout 4 second edition if you wanted to.
Yeah, the way Todd really wanted it edition, whatever, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
the Todd edition. There we
Yeah.
go.
But I would pay for. I mean, how many volumes of Skyrim have I bought?
Right?
But I don't know why they won't do that. They say, well, we want to work on new stuff. Well, some of the new stuff ain't worth working on. And again, they've got so many studios. I don't know what they're doing with all them studios. No, it's another
Yeah, and I
podcast,
think
but it,
that's a whole nother
it's
podcast. I
really
think that's the
frustrating sometimes to us who have that they know what we like. What then? I don't understand. I really
I
don't
think they're just
understand.
I think unfortunately a lot of the figureheads at the top of the food chain now, I don't think that they're in touch with the base anymore.
Well, they're at least starting to grasp it. Todd has been talking, and I know we're to the end of the podcast, and I'm about to quit. I know Kane's got to go, but Todd has been talking. They wanted Starfield to last for 10 years because they see the way that Skyrim has lasted. And they said they were going to facilitate Starfield. In other words, they were going to do content for it as long as people wanted it. Well, if they see that the Bethesda games are doing that, then Fallout 4 would do the same thing. All of their games would do that. Then why don't they, instead of doing it for Starfield, why don't they do it with the games that are already behind them? Instead of starting where they are right now, why don't they just go back to the games that we already have and we want content for? Am I making
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Todd saying, well, we'll do it from now on. Well, we don't really want anything with Starfield because y'all didn't do good enough, but we do with Fallout 4. And there's still
Right.
people wanting stuff from Skyrim. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I think honestly Bethesda really peaked with Skyrim.
Oh, of course they did.
And it did too. It was kind of a double-edged sword for them because yes, it was a blessing, but it was also a curse because now they have there's that expectation for the next game and the next game. So 6 right now there's a very high bar for it, and I think if it comes out and it's not even close to Skyrim, it's gonna kill the company.
I'm of the opinion though they can do it. I know they can
They
do it.
can, they
It's
can.
still in them. I know it. I mean, again, Starfield had
I'm hoping that they do because I want my Fallout 5.
but I want to leave y'all with a good taste in your mouth, okay? Think about all that they did right with Starfield, and they did some amazing things, new things right. We got spaceships in a Bethesda game that actually worked and worked well. I mean, think about that. That was huge. Well, I'm sure that took a lot of time, and it probably took a lot of time away from the quest writing and all the other stuff that they, normally put into quest writing. But what I'm saying is, there's a lot with Starfield that is good and should be praised. Now, again, there's a lot of problems, and we've seen that. But what I'm saying is, they are still a good company that do a lot of good things. And I think when we go back to the Elder Scrolls, which is everything they know how to do, it's not something that's out of their realm like Starfield was. And they can focus back on everything they know how to do. And they know that pressure's on them, Kane. They know the Skyrim comparison is on them. I think Todd knows that. I think
Yeah. I don't think I don't think Todd's going to sit on his laurels when it comes to Elder Scrolls 6. But
if
I
we're
think
if we're ever going to get a great game out of them, it's going to be Elder Scrolls.
yeah, he's going to put a lot of his own personal energy into Elder Scrolls. That's his baby. That's been his baby forever.
Yes.
So I don't think he's going to let that one fall by the wayside.
Nope.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Timber says if they can pull off 6, it'll just be reinforcement of keeping the creation kit. Yep, that's true. That's true too. That's part of the reply from the dev. Well, that's true too. That makes sense. If they pull off Elder Scrolls 6 with the creation engine, then of course they're going to keep it. Well, that's a good way to end it. So, Kane, if they make a good game with the creation engine too, then you have no chance of getting rid of it.
I'm not saying that I want them to get rid of it. I'm looking at it more from a holistic standpoint than I am just from the game itself.
I know it. Kane, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it so much. I always enjoy when you're on the show. Do this again, will you?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now that I got my setup again, and I'll get my camera fixed this time.
Well, hey, we like you being Batman. You're just kind of the man behind the mask.
Behind the curtain. Oh yeah. I'm like the wizard. I'm like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz.
Thanks everybody for watching today. I am the KingFanMan. He is Kane Valdir Gaming. We will see you guys next time. God bless. Good night.